Hang in
Dude,
there. It is.
that's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Welcome to a major championship edition of The Smylie Show. And the only thing that I regret to inform you is that we are not together in the same place this week. The first time this year in 2024 that we're not doing that, but that's okay.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I know it's a real shame. And you know what? There are a lot of reasons why it bums me out, but the biggest one is the one that's sitting on your head right now, because I would be merching so hard if I was there with you, and that might be the first hat that I'd buy. That is a slick lid right there, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, light blue rope hat. For those that aren't watching on YouTube, repped it out there on the golf course today. Felt pretty confident in it, and yeah, it's a good looking hat. It was on my bed when I got here, and as I look out the window and see the flags flying of the Open Championship, I mean, it's a beautiful day. You can't beat this spot.
Cannot beat it. I was just there very recently in Scotland, in the same hotel you're staying in now. So shout out to the Marine Hotel Royal Troon. The place that we got to start this episode, actually, Smylie, is another big shout out, another big thanks to our partner, Wear SPF, for presenting this show. And here's the fun sort of angle we're taking on it this week is, in setting up this sort of sponsorship, we learned something for the first time. We learned that if you go to your weather app on your phone, anyone that has an iPhone and probably a Droid, Android, whatever else as well, you can go to your weather app and you can find the UV index. And so when you go and you look at that UV index, if you're anywhere 3 or above on that index, you should be putting sunscreen on. And the reason this is applicable is, I was just in Scotland, and there are a lot of days that were overcast, and it looked a lot like what it looks like right outside right now at Royal Troon. And I maybe did not reapply as much as I needed to, and was a little bit worse for the wear. So this is a great reminder as part of this partnership that even if it is overcast, you got to put sunscreen on. And Smylie, it looks like that's going to be sort of the story of at least Thursday and Friday at Troon. Maybe a little bit overcast, but the UV index is going to be, I think, 4 on Thursday and up to 6 on Friday. So got to make sure you put your Wear SPF on this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that I picked up on just learning about, skincare when it comes to, protecting your skin with sunscreen, with SPF, I always wondered, when it ain't sunny out, do I need to wear sunscreen? Because, that it's pretty natural to not want to wear sunscreen when the sun isn't out. But like you're talking about, you're able to kind of check how bad the UV light is that day. If it's 4, if it's 6, you're still definitely you could definitely get some sunburns and lose some hydration. Even on a day like today, I don't think I had one water out there as well. So if you put some sunscreen on like I did, you actually get some hydration from the sunscreen. So that's an added benefit from using it, applying regularly. So a couple different times a day, even though it wasn't sunny, I was lathering up a little bit, making sure that, I wasn't walking off the golf course looking like a lobster.
Yes, that is key. That was our big learn last week, is that in wearing sunscreen, it keeps you from getting dehydrated. This week's big learn, go check that UV index in your weather app on your phone to make sure that if it's 3 or above, you're applying sunscreen, even if it doesn't look like the sun is peeking out outside. So, and in that process, if you're looking for some sunscreen, you can go to wearspf.com and use the code SMILEY50, which is SMYLIE50. That's buy one, get one on any of their products. We also talked last week about the sunscreen mooches. Get a spray bottle for you, get a spray bottle for your buddy who's going to ask to use it. Get some sticks, whatever it is. Make sure you're reapplying out there on the course. And especially, when you're at home watching the Open this week and it's a little overcast, and it's a good reminder. Always put on sunscreen.
And it's kind of nice too when you're not playing golf and you're just out here commentating, writing notes, getting ready for the Open Championship, is I don't have to worry about, I can put the sunscreen on my hands and lather it up. And I'm not saying SPF's sunscreen is the sticky kind to where, you feel like you're going to lose your grip, because it's not. There's plenty worse brands that it feels like, oh, this is a little slick. But it is nice to not have to worry about, just kind of rubbing it in. But there's There's a way to do it.
You don't have to do the seal hands. You know what I mean? That's kind of what you want to avoid. You can just go right on the hands. Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, that's the way I do it. I spray and then try to rub it in so you don't want to have these bad boys slick holding the golf club.
Or you just hope that your caddy really kind of water that towel down nice and good and just get in there and just, rub it down in there and clean it off. But yes, it's whatever, however you do it, make sure you do it because sun care is really important. And again, go to wearspf.com and use the code SMILEY50 for buy one, get one. So that is our little, Wear SPF primer for the week, and very appreciative to them for presenting the show. And, we'll get a little further into the show, into that weather report that we mentioned and how it's going to impact both sides of the draw, maybe which guys you should be playing or shouldn't be playing, based on how that weather is going to shake out those first 2 days. But before we do that, Smylie, I want to hit the rewind button a little bit because you played in one Open Championship in 2016. It was right here, right outside your window at Royal Troon. And so I want to get a little bit of your perspective on what it was like when you played it and what you saw when you were out there today. But first, I'd like to kind of throw some fun facts at the audience. So Smylie was shot 72, 76, finished 6 over, missed the cut by 2 shots. Cut line was 4 over, but you beat quite a few people, buddy. You beat Louis Oosthuizen by 6 shots. You beat Matt Fitzpatrick by 5 shots. You beat Billy Horschel by 4 shots. He had the dreaded 67.85, which looked a lot like my gin handicap page after going to Scotland a couple weeks ago. You beat John Daly by 3 shots. You beat Hideki Matsuyama by 2 shots. And you beat Shane Lowry, Tommy Fleetwood, and Colt Knost by a shot. So listen.
Oh, it'd be Colt. Let's go.
You beat Colt. Listen, it wasn't all bad in 2016. Of course, you want to make the cut, but you beat some notable names. So I just tell me about your memories that week playing in this tournament, playing the postage stamp and the wave where you got the tough win and everything else. What was it like playing in that Open?
Well, I don't know how many I missed the cut by, but I do.
2.
I missed the cut by 2.
Yeah.
Are you able to pull up my front 9 scoring stats, or is that how far deep were you in there? Because I remember playing the back 9 incredibly well and the front 9 very poor. And the front 9 is not that difficult, really not that hard after going out and watching today. And the back 9 could not have been more like I can't believe how hard this back 9 is. If this wind like we have out of the Northwest was here all week, was here, it would be insane watching these guys play in it. But it's going to be a Southwest wind, which makes it a little easier as far as the direction of the wind. And the guys will have it a little bit of a break on the back 9. But it is such a fun golf course, one that I really do think tests every single aspect of your game. With the ball striking, it's something I think as we go on in this episode, you're going to start to hear our one and done picks and the guys that we're picking this week. I think you'll see us kind of lean to those ball striking stats. And after being out there today, that just kind of confirmed, that half the golf course, it really feels like you got to be a very good middle to long iron player, where the front 9 of the golf course, you have to be very intelligent in where you position your golf ball and be very solid with your wedges and take advantage of par 5s. So it's a really odd mix because most of the time in an 18-hole round, you have hard holes mixed with easy holes and you have different wind directions, golf course going different directions. This course, the first 7 holes all go the same way, same wind direction, very similar type holes, not long, a lot of wedges. And then you flip around, play the postage stamp, which is a diabolical hole, can be at least, can be very easy. And then you get to 9, 10, and it doesn't stop. Like you can get on bogey trains out there so quickly on the back 9. You can make just huge numbers on the 11th hole. There's a couple other holes too, like 13 is ridiculously hard, 15 so hard, and the par 3s 14 and 17 are just insane. So I definitely want to get more into depth. I can go hole by hole, but this is one I'm really excited about This is a great way to end this major season. You know, Valhalla was just kind of just a waste as far as being able to test the best guys. This week, you're gonna see the best come to the top of this leaderboard.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Will they both make it? Yes. But it has more to do with the fact of the three teams that are not really good at all in Dallas, Washington, and the Sparks, and an Atlanta Dream team without Ryan Howard that's spiraling out of control. If they can get those two teams, Indiana and Chicago, that's going to be a major boom for ratings.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
DeMar DeRozan now joins that team in Sacramento with the Kings. De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, Devin Carter, who they drafted early, Keegan Murray as well. A Kings team, DRS, that has been a playoff contender.
Is it going to equate to a championship? Probably not. That's not the goal. Make your team better every offseason. The Kings definitely got better with that move here, Ben.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
At your Open 2016 at Troon, you played the back nine, even par, over 2 days. In fact, if you'd not doubled the 18th hole in the first round, you would have played it 2 under. And
I played so good on the back.
You came back and you birdied 18 in the second round to get you a little closer to that cut line. So it was the front nine that really kind of did you some damage there.
The postage stamp. I mean, a triple, I think.
Yes. Let's see here. Let me go round 2. Yes, you tripled the postage stamp. But
in the damn right bunker, and I looked at it today too, because like I got into that bunker and hit a shot because you get in there and it's deep, and the reason why the postage stamp is hard is because that bunker is not green side on the right. Like it's not up against the right side of the green, so you can't chunk and run anything. If you hit anything chunky, it's coming back to you. So you have to hit it. You have to clip it perfectly, and you have to hit it, in a 7-yard gap. And if you don't pull it off and you hit it thin, you're on the other side, then you're going to be going back the other way. So that's why it's hard, because you have to commit so much to the shot and being able to hit it precisely in that little distance, which is not a difficult shot. But when you get in there in the tournament, all you're thinking about is don't screw this up.
Well, and it's a virtual impossibility if the wind is up, like it was for you, where you talked about hitting a 7-iron in the morning wave and Phil Mickelson having a gap wedge in the afternoon wave. And so that can really play a huge difference. And so we are going to get into that weather. Now, you mentioned Valhalla and the PGA Championship earlier this year and the scoring. And if you went back and you looked at the very top of that 2016 Open Championship leaderboard, you might think, oh, we're in for another scoring fest. That is not the case. It is a really interesting study in major championship history to go back and look at that year where Henrik Stenson wins at 20 under. Phil Mickelson finishes second at 17 under and talks about how stunned he was. He'd never played that good and not won a tournament ever before in his life. And third place in the B flight was JB Holmes at 6 under. And so, I mean, just mind-blowing stuff from Henrik and Phil at the top of that leaderboard that week. I think it's interesting looking at what they did well and how they got to the top of the leaderboard. Famously, Henrik Stenson hit that 3-wood off the tee and was incredibly accurate with that, and then hit his long irons phenomenally well all week long. And so in looking at that and trying to construct a profile for who we think is going to succeed this week. So he led the field that week with 25 birdies and an eagle, made 7 bogeys, no doubles. Phil at 17 under made 19 birdies, also made an eagle, 4 bogeys, no doubles. And then you go to JB, who is 6 under, 4 bogeys and 3 doubles. So, effectively, mathematically, it's 10 doubles. So it feels like a week where, man, driving accuracy is going to get rewarded a lot. And then precision with the approach game is going to get rewarded a lot because, to your point, if you miss those greens and you end up in some of those pop bunkers, that's where you start bringing those big numbers into play.
And Royal Troon is similar to like Royal St. George's, and that the pot bunkers are a big problem from the fairway. If you drive it in one of these fairway bunkers, you're not going to be able to get to the green. There's not one fairway bunker that I saw that allows you the opportunity to advance it onto the green. So the whole week, it's all about being comfortable about knowing the rollouts of how far your ball is going to be rolling on the ground. So the first hole today, I was talking to John Ellis. He said he was watching Xander's group play the first 2 holes, and Xander was hitting 5-iron both into the bunker on 1 and 2. So the ball in the morning was already rolling out, and that's something that I picked up on with the fairways. Although it's been a wet season, the fairways are firm, and especially downwind, really firm. And I'm looking at the book here, and it's 254 yards to that first fairway bunker on 1. 5 irons getting there. Today down off the right, 252 to that same bunker on 2. 1, 2, and 3 are very similar starts, and 5 irons were getting there. So it's a golf course that I thought Adam Scott today, watching him on the back nine, he said of something that was so intelligent. He said, I like to get to Open Championships 10 days early. So I came, before the Scottish to play, to get comfortable with the golf course, because I feel like if you're looking at the yardage book at an Open Championship, like you're not doing it right. Like you need to have the feel and understanding of the golf course and how it plays, which is why he's been so successful in Open Championships. And maybe because he just understands how the golf course is going to react in different conditions. And last thing I'll leave you with on that topic is that we had a really interesting conversation with Jack Nicklaus at the Memorial Championship during a TV break. This actually would have made for great TV. And one of our analysts, I can't remember who it was, asked Jack how he prepared for the major championships. Like, what was your plan that you put together? And he said, well, I didn't put a plan together. And like, I kind of was on the golf course just walking aimlessly because I wasn't in the booth. And then Jack goes on this just storytelling about how he at the Open Championships would get there, a week and a half in advance and just play golf. Didn't necessarily put a plan together. All he did was just go and play the golf course in different conditions, so that when he went out and played during the tournament, he was just able to feel like it was, a course that he was comfortable with, and that he could just react and know what the ball was going to do on the ground, which kind of just echoes what Adam Scott just said about, hey, the yardage book is great to look at and you need to use it, but also like you need to have a general feel of how this golf course is going to play.
That is the thing that, again, in my very, very limited experience playing golf and overseas, specifically Scotland, that delighted me the most is how much the ground game comes into play. And you're early on the trip and your caddy's giving you a number and then handing you a 9-iron, and you're like, did you read this thing upside down? Did you mean to hand me a 6-iron instead? He's like, no, you hit it right there, and that thing's going to hit, roll and roll and roll. And so the firmness of those courses, is unbelievable. And then when you mix in elements like the wind, I mean, it's amazing the different types of shots that are needed to kind of succeed on these sort of venues. So I think that, a guy that, of course, off the tee, if you can be precise and find fairways and avoid, hazards for sure. And then also kind of, approaching greens, with precision and be creative too,
It's really not that tricky on the front nine. with the irons that you're hitting. It's, we're talking with how firm it is, but we're talking about 5-4 irons. These guys are hitting a lot on the front nine. I mean, that's simple shots for these guys to get in the fairways.
And you're just talking about the tee right here, just to be clear,
off
right?
The tee.
Off the tee, 4 and 5 irons, fine
and
fairway.
Then you're hitting wedge. Yeah. That's how short the front nine can play.
The WNBA is a unique market, right? It moves a little bit different. You take a bet, a limit play, even if the limit is 2 dimes on a side, you don't go from 11.5 to 12. You know what I mean? You got to go. Because if they bet you the second number, then you go, oh boy, now we have a decision that we really didn't think we got a big decision. Books love decisions.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
DeMar DeRozan now joins that team in Sacramento with the Kings. De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, Devin Carter, who they drafted early, Keegan Murray as well. A Kings team, DRS, that has been a playoff contender.
Is it going to equate to a championship? Probably not. That's not the goal. Make your team better every offseason. The Kings definitely got better with that move here, Ben.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
I had heard that Bryson had drove in on the first, second, third, and the 7th greens.
Wow.
So if you want to factor that into your Bryson this week, and I'll give you the numbers on this because the first hole is a 366-yard par 4. Today it was down off the right, and it's a perfect driver for Bryson there. So first hole, he's able to drive the green. Second hole, 389. And that one's, I don't really know how he did it there because there's 3 pop bunkers that sit 36 yards away, which you would imagine 345 cover down off the right. I mean, he's got to get a 1 bounce over those bunkers, you would think, because that's pretty insane, but maybe he can do it. And then the third hole, he drove it, but also Ludwig Oberg told me today he drove it on the front of the 3rd green. And this is a hole that has a little burn that runs through the middle of the fairway at about 281 to it. The cover on the left side is probably 290. And if you do carry it, you could see the whiteness in the ground. The fairway just looks like it's going to bounce and be firm. So if you cover it, it's going to have good, it's 64 yards from the end of the burn to the green. It's easily getting that. So if you cover it, as Ludwig told me he did today, he said, yeah, it rolled up right on the front of the green. So it's such an interesting golf course because if you play it aggressively and you pull it off, you have easy opportunities to chip up and make early birdies. And if you look at the totals, like you talked about with Henrik Stenson making 25 birdies, I do think the birdie total you're going to need this week to win is in the 20s. You're going to have to make 20 birdies this week to win the golf tournament. So you're going to have days in which you have a hot putter on the front nine, and then days in which you just ball strike the crap out of it on the back to where you go shoot a 2 or 3 under on the back with just really pristine ball striking. But avoiding the big number on the back nine is going to be the key.
So it's interesting in hearing you talk about that sort of risk reward trade off of, hey, guys that are aggressive and pull it off, can make the numbers they need to make to really distance themselves from the rest of the field. So much of that to me is weather dependent, right? Because if you're, if it's downwind, you obviously can do a lot more in terms of carry, numbers and reaching in front of the greens and giving yourselves, scoring clubs or even, having a putter in your hand on par fours that change the complexion of the tournament. But if that wind switches, it's a completely different ball game. And so I got the forecast
southwest.
Well, so I'm looking at, it's okay. That's because I'm looking at the forecast right now for let's start with Thursday. And so I'm seeing south to southeast winds.
You're seeing south to southeast.
Yeah, that's what, if you're starting at 7 a.m., it's southeast, and then it's all south the rest of the day. And it's like,
well, guess what it was today? It was northwest. So that was down off the right. So 1 today, that's in off the right at like 1 o'clock, which makes the back nine play easier. And it makes the front play. It just forces your hand on the front nine basically to lay up.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just so curious to see, because in terms of the numbers, like you're seeing winds that should be between 8 to 12 mile per hour, but gusts up to like 30 miles an hour and this is on Thursday. And then it looks like rain is in between 70 to 80% chance on Thursday. The rain chance on Friday is a lot lower. It's between 10 and 20%. But the wind is still there, maybe not as strong as Thursday. It's saying the consistent will be between 6 to 10 miles per hour, and then gusts will get up to about 27 miles per hour. But the wind direction, same sort of thing. We're seeing some south to start the day, then going southwest, and then later in the evening back to south. And so, it does, again, it emphasizes the point you're making about Jack Nicklaus, where especially here at the Open Championship, you can't show up with a game plan because the game plan for the north winds is a lot different from the south winds. So you kind of noted there on the front nine how that changes things. I mean, does that change if you're seeing guys today hitting 4 and 5 irons? Like, is that driver in hand if the wind's going south, or is it still the way it's going to run on the ground? It's still going to be an iron or a driving iron or something like that in hand off the tee.
It's going to turn into the front nine playing much softer than it normally would. The back nine, you're so accustomed, the front nine, you're so accustomed to landing wedge shots at the front of the green. And a lot of times front pins, you're landing at 10 yards short of the green. So it turns it a little bit more into the ball flying towards the hole and the ball stopping quicker. So the wedge and approach shots become arguably easier to get closer to the holes in which they tuck it on the corners, which they can do on the first couple holes. Like, they can hide these pins behind pot bunkers, which I think is the risk reward factor in hitting driver when it's downwind on those holes. But if it's right to left or in on the first couple holes or the first 7 holes, I think it kind of gives you an opportunity to play aggressively.
One of the many exciting things about joining LIV was being able to come here and play in front of a Spanish crowd, especially on a level of event and level of competition that I hadn't really yet enjoyed, right? I've been able to play events in Spain.
You're in the beautiful Valderrama, which some say is the European Augusta. It's so special. There's so much history here. There's so much Spanish history here.
Well, it has so much history behind. It's only a 50-year-old club, but so much has happened through the years. I mean, we had the Ryder Cup, we had World Gold Championships, and now we have LIV.
1, 2, 3, 2, 1.
I feel like when there's this wind in this golf course is so difficult that it's equally stressful no matter when or where you're playing it. But it was fun. It's always fun to be back home and be with the home crowd. It's always a joy to have this many people supporting me all day. It's so much fun.
OMG, what did we just witness? Our first ever double playoff in LIV Golf history. I am so pumped up right now.
So much happened on the last 5 minutes. I mean, it looked like it was going to the crushers and Annie Barton winning, and all of a sudden then Abraham holding a chip, David Puig birdie, then that little putt from Annie Barton on the last. I mean, it was great watching.
You know, it's really amazing to be able to do it in your home country, in front of my family, in front of so many friends, and on my favorite golf course. So it's obviously super nice.
And the ball might, instead of rolling out 60 yards, maybe driver is, because it's in an in off the right wind, is only rolling 10 to 15 yards. So it makes that area in which, you know, you're worried about a 60-yard area as far as just where you land it and where the ball finishes rolling. So 60 yards actually, it's a lot smaller of an area than you would realize when it gets downwind. But if it's in off the right now, that ball is not going to roll out as much. You can play it aggressively and give yourself shorter distances to the hole, and a golf ball that actually will be a little bit more receptive into the greens. And then the controversy on the back nine, more left or right winds, maybe a touch down at times. Instead of today, it was in off the left, and Adam Scott on 10 hit 6-iron. On the 11th hole, he hit a 2-iron. The 12th hole, he hit a wedge. 13, 4-iron. 14, 3-iron. 15, 3-iron. 16, 3-iron. 17, 16 is a par 5. 17 was a 3-iron. Then 18, like a middle iron. Just insane how hard that northwest wind is.
It is. The headline from all this for me is, man, this is going to be a fun week to watch, because there's no like standard, this is the way it's going to play. There's no like, this is clearly the guy that's going to benefit. It's going to be whoever figures out a way to golf their ball the best in a lot of changing conditions and in a very unique sort of venue. And that's why link style golf is so great.
I'm going to walk you through the 15th hole.
Okay, please.
And I'll pull up the book, because I think it's a perfect illustration of what these guys are facing off the tee. And if you can see that clearly.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you kind of see that clearly?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So the bunkers up on the right, you see those bunkers? The carry number is the red number. So that red number on the right looks to be, the first one is 267 carry. The second was 290 yards carry.
Okay.
And the wind, let's say it's a southwest wind, straight off the left. So now, like today, like you couldn't even, it was a northwest wind today, which was brutal. But
wait, are you telling me it's a left to right wind that could gust up to 30 miles an hour?
Yes.
Can we shut this record off right now? Can I go like take some anti-anxiety medicine?
Exactly. But the options that it's given you now with a 290-yard cover in a left to right wind, like you actually have an opportunity to blast it over those right bunkers, where you can aim up the left and just say, eliminate the left side. Let's go hit it in the right junk and go and find it. Now there's certain areas of the golf course in which you got to know this is the areas that the fescue is up. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the players kind of know which sides that is. Like 13, for instance, Adam was telling me that the right side is much worse than the left. Like they kind of know which sides to favor as far as the fescue goes. But it's just so interesting, because if you played today, you could psych yourself out pretty bad, knowing that maybe the 15th hole, if you hit a good drive and it's a little down off the left, like a southwest wind, you're going to be looking at wedges and 9-irons in the back nine, which is totally what these guys have not played this week, which I think this wind that you're talking about will bunch up scoring. I think it's a scoring wind that it's not going to separate quite as much. I think you'll see not as many big numbers, because although if it's a super gusty, maybe that will get the numbers up a little bit. But I think that northwest wind is much more difficult, and you would see plenty more guys really struggle in that one. I think you'll see a lot of guys kind of be in that couple under 2-3 under range in that first round, and kind of continue to see that thing bunch up as the weekend progresses.
Yeah, I just jumped ahead to Saturday and Sunday out of curiosity, and it looks like the wind we'll get a little more in the way of west wind, especially as we move into Sunday, but largely it's going to be that kind of southwest wind. And the speed should be just about the same. You're looking at like anywhere from 6 to 8, which is, not a ton of wind for your sort of steady wind, and then gusts that are, actually looks like Saturday, the gusts only get up to 20 miles an hour, which isn't, crazy for Scotland. And then Sunday they're back up in that like mid to high 20s range, with a little bit stronger. So yeah, and then moving sort of west. So if that wind holds and scoring stays bunched, that should make for at least an entertaining Open Championship at the very least. So from there, Smylie, as we've kind of done for these majors, we've kind of started with maybe 3 big names that have the largest sort of storylines around them, discuss those 3, and then we've kind of moved into the rest of the field, and of course our one and done pick. So the 3 that I'd love to kind of start with and have a bigger conversation about are Scotty, Rory, and Jon Rahm for very different reasons. And so let's just kind of start with Scotty, the odds-on favorite. He is plus 450, which is 9-2. Rory is the next shortest odds on the board at plus 850, but Scotty's form coming in, T8 at the PGA, T2 at the Schwab, 1 at the Memorial, T41 at the US Open, and 1 the Travelers. So it's about, it's at this point, it's doubt Scotty at your own risk. I'm curious as to your opinion on Scotty's played in 3 Open Championships. And if you're looking at the 4 majors, it's the one that he's like had relatively the least amount of success in. He's had 1 top 10 in Open Championship, and then his other 2 finishes are outside the top 20 in those 3 starts. You compare that to the Masters, of course, where he's won twice. He's had a top 10, no finish worse than 19th in 5 starts. At the PGA, he's had 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s. He has missed the cut there. The US Open, 2 top 5s, 1 top 10, and 1 missed cut in 5 starts. And so, look, he's only played 3 Opens. I'm not saying he's not going to succeed. He can go out and win this year, and then it's a completely different script. But what do you make of Scotty's game? We've seen do very well stateside, how that travels across the pond?
I mean, it's an automatic top 10. Like I don't see a way in which this golf course doesn't just perfectly suit his game.
Really?
Because you just have to hit it so well and be able to hold crosswinds, which is, I think this week is going to be a lot about holding crosswinds left to right and right to left, because that wind that you're talking about is going to be very like tons and tons of crosswinds, and Scotty's so good at doing that. So I'll start there with the ball striking, that it's a really good fit. I'm a little concerned about just putting on slower greens and wind. I think that would be something that can he be just above average in putting this week? Because I could see a world in which the slower greens give him issues and just a little bit more of the bumpiness, and not able to hold 10, 15 foot putts. I could see that being a big part of the storyline with Scotty Scheffler this week. And if he doesn't win, it's going to be because of the putter, because we all know how good of a ball striker he is. We know what he's going to show up with, and it feels almost bulletproof that he's going to hit it really well and probably be top 3 in the ball striking statistics, if not most likely number 1.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I land with Scotty. You got to trust that Ted Scott's going to have a good idea of what, to be able to avoid all the bunkers, get the right clubs in his hands. But also, we kind of talked a little bit about Scotty, and were you worried about his form coming into the week, not playing the Scottish, having some time off. But him getting here on Saturday, I think kind of falls in line with playing the golf course, being comfortable with the conditions, and just knowing how it's going to play in the runouts. So that just makes me love Scotty even more this week. I think I love Scotty to win. Like, if you're somebody that likes to place Scotty bets. I think Scotty's the guy to beat. The odds obviously show it. It's like, oh, dude, no way. You think Scotty's going to win this week? I just think there's a lot of things lining up that I really like. But if he doesn't win, I think the putter is going to be the reason why, because of the slow greens, the puffiness, and the wind.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds? Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What, are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
We're getting close here to making our one and done picks, kind of getting to the guys we really like. Quick group of names I'm going to read you coming off the group I just did that are all shorter than 20-1. So, you know, kind of that next wave of guys who are favorites. Xander Schauffele at 11-1, Ludwig Oberg 16-1, Colin Morikawa 16-1, and Bryson DeChambeau 18-1. All names that make a ton of sense in that range. Of course, Bryson's won a major this year, as has Xander. Colin Morikawa has played about as good as you could play this season without winning a major. And Ludwig, you know, a guy who came close to the Masters and, you know, feels like has a game that fits this type of venue. So Smylie, it's one and done time. I believe it is your pick this week. The update after a lower point week last week. You've got 50 points for your Tom Kim pick. I got a big 2.7 for my Minwoo Lee pick. You're now at 2,930 points. I'm at 4,203. So we've got, and we don't have a ton of events left. We have the Open, of course. We have the 3M. We got to figure out some system for evaluating medals to points for the Olympics. And then we've got the Wyndham and 3 FedEx Cup playoff events. So with that said, who are, as we've done the last few weeks, give me, 3 names of guys that you like that you're not going to pick, and I'll do the same. And then give us your Open Championship one and done pick.
Yes, I'm kind of still debating, going back and forth, waffling, if you will. And I want to pick somebody that I think is going to win. And
it's a good strategy.
Which is, well, sometimes I pick a guy thinking that I feel really good about a top 10. If they somehow sneak out a win, then great. But this week I really want to pick a guy that wins, and which is why my recommendations are going to start with Tony Finau. I would love to pick that man in my one and done this week and just be able to go out on a limb and say, you know what, one and done Tony Finau, this guy's going to win this week. It's so hard for me to pick this guy to win. Although everything about this golf course, his game, checks every single box for me. What are the question marks with Tony? How's the putting?
Mm-hmm.
Well, last 3 weeks he's been gaining around a stroke in the putting department. How is he? What type of form is he in coming into the week? Well, he's running into 3 straight top 10s. Well, what are the things that we worry about with Tony? The clutch gene. Is he going to be able to? Is he going to be able to be in contention and go and win the golf tournament? I don't know. That's a box I wish I could check, because if I could, I would be taking this man right now, no problem, because his statistics, tee to green, and specifically approach to the green, he's very similar to Jon Rahm. I would put him in the same category of when I stand behind them and watch their iron game, it comes out the same window and they're able to work it either left to right or right to left on command with middle and long irons, which not many guys are able to do. Hardly ever see these guys double cross it, and hardly ever see these guys hit the spinny ones. So with that being said, Tony was going to be my first recommendation, although, gosh, I would love to have picked him for my one and done pick.
Okay. And then who else do you have?
That's a great question. I don't remember. So why don't you start with a couple of yours?
Okay, very well. Yeah, I mean, I think, the format we've been doing, so that there are 3 guys that I like a lot, but that I'm not ultimately going to pick. The first is Tyrrell Hatton, whose odds are 28-1 right now. Major record this year, kind of like so-so. T9 at the Masters, which is obviously good, but then a T63 at the PGA and a T26 at the US Open.
Did he T10 at Bay Hill?
He did. Yeah, he's a permanent T10. They just whoever's in 10th place at Bay Hill, they just also just attach Tyrrell Hatton. He gets his FedEx Cup points.
He's a lifetime top 10 at Bay Hill. If you weren't with us when we were picking our Bay Hill week, I think I either said I'm picking Tyrrell Hatton, and I said with a straight face, and you're like, oh, good pick. Good pick.
I mean, it is. The guy doesn't even need to tee it up, and he's a great pick at Bay Hill. I mean, they should have like some of these courses where like Marion, they got a plaque, for Ben Hogan. They need to have a plaque on the leaderboard at Bay Hill for Tyrrell Hatton's name. Just auto top 10. And also he's playing pretty good on live right now. Just finished third at Valderrama this last week, and the week before, wins in Nashville. Here at Troon in 2016, he finished tied for 5th at 4 under. I realized that Stinson and Mickelson were light years away, but still of the group of everyone else who played normal human golf, he was right there. I think that, in terms of his stat profile, we're going to need to see maybe a little more tee accuracy than we normally see from him. He's not inaccurate, but he's not one of the most accurate. But if you're talking about a guy who hits his irons great and can avoid some of the danger around the greens, like this is your guy. So I really like Tyrrell. Also a guy that is, familiar, he's English. He knows this style of golf. Like to me, this all it just bonus points in a lot of different categories for Tyrrell for me. So that's my first guy that I like, but that I'm not picking. Now, do you want to go back and forth and draft this thing? All right,
yeah,
perfect.
let's do it.
There we go.
My next one is Shane Lowry.
Love that.
Shane Lowry to me has had a fantastic ball striking year. And when you look at Shoot the FedEx Cup, you look at the standings, you're like, wow, Shane Lowry.
Yeah.
I mean, he's up there.
A year after missing it, right? Like a huge bounce back year. Yeah.
Huge bounce back year. Had a tremendous beginning of the year. And I just was in awe of how well he was hitting his long irons and his mid irons. I'm going to say that as well, like Open Championship Shane Lowry just seems like, why wouldn't you want to cheer for Shane Lowry at an Open? So you have that like pulling me in that direction of Shane Lowry. Would love to recommend him to someone here listening and have a celebratory Guinness as you watch Shane Lowry coming up the 18th, waving at the fans. You have your, 40-1 ticket 50-1 ticket. You're just waving it with the Guinness in your hand. So that is what I hope somebody will do, is take Shane to win, because I would love for Shane to win. And I think he's someone that could have a really good week. I think he's somebody that probably doesn't get talked about enough. He's had a really tremendous year, like we just spoken about, and he's a gritty player that should play well in Open Championship style golf. We've seen it at Port Rush, and why not here at Royal Troon?
One of the many exciting things about joining Live was being able to come here and play in front of a Spanish crowd, especially on a level of event and level of competition that I hadn't really yet enjoyed, right? Been able to play events in Spain.
Here in the beautiful Valderrama, which some say is the European Augusta. It's so special. There's so much history here. There's so much Spanish history here.
Well, it has so much history behind. It's only a 50 years old club, but so much has happened through the years. I mean, we had the Ryder Cup, we had World Golf Championships, and now we have Live.
It's very exciting, and really, if there was ever a place to get my first win, I feel like this would be the perfect week.
I feel like when this wind to this golf course is so difficult that it's equally stressful no matter when or where you're playing it. But it was fun. It's always fun to be back home and be with the home crowd. It's always a joy to have this many people supporting me all day. It's so much fun.
What the heck course were you playing today?
I don't know.
It's brutal out there.
It is brutal. I don't know. I just made everything I looked at, Jerry. You have those days. I suppose this is one of those days for me, so I really shouldn't. I really enjoyed it. Every time I stood over a putt, just felt like I could make it, and you don't get days like that too often, or certainly I don't. So yeah, I relished in it, and I managed to hit a lot of good shots as well. So it was a special day.
So this takes us to your one and done pick for the 152nd Open Championship. I think I have that right. Yep, I'm looking at the flag right now. 152nd Open Championship at Royal Troon. I could have also just read it on your hat. I could have also read it on my hat. So good work by me. Who you got this week, Smylie?
The player I'm taking is Ludwig Oberg, and I just feel like with Ludwig's game, his ability to remain just cool as a cucumber as a young guy. He's never played an Open Championship before. Like, why am I taking a guy to win an Open Championship who's never played in a links Open Championship? I'm sure he's played plenty of links golf, but in a first Open Championship, like, what are you doing here? Well, I just think that we're talking about a superstar. I mean, this guy can hit it so high, so far, and he's accurate. So all of the things that we've kind of valued this week, I just love that in looking at his metrics and his driving distance, he can gain 10 to 15 yards on the distance side, but also be gaining on the accuracy side as well. So if you're able to combine just the ability to be long and straight, and for a guy that doesn't curve the golf ball that a whole lot, like it's not tons of curve on it, I think the big question mark for me this week is, can he get comfortable with how far the golf ball is going on the ground? Into the greens, is he comfortable with holding crosswinds? Can he hit it pin high? Because I think his short game has improved week in and week out to where I feel like getting up and down out of bunkers is going to be a strength, which I think is a huge metric this week. Sand saves. And I just think putting is, you never have to worry with Ludwig with the putter, it feels like. So all that being said, I think he can be able to play the par threes efficiently, the par fives efficiently, and he could go and make 20 birdies. Give me Ludwig Åberg, major champion.
Well, that leads nicely into the guy that I'm going to choose. And it's a guy that, look, it's one and done. There's a lot of different ways to strategize for this sort of thing, but you got to use the big guns at some point. And I'm going to go with Rory this week. Plus 850. He's a guy that's the second shortest odds to win. I don't want to miss the boat on Rory's eventual major win. So I really feel like this could be the week for that. And I think, it's one of those things where it's a Clutch Gene adjacent conversation. It's a guy that has all the pressure on the world in him to win a major. And we've talked about how it's going to be tough for him to win his next one, his fifth at the Masters for a number of reasons to get that, finish that career Grand Slam. So I just like the idea of an open championship, something that feels closer to home for him, being that sort of breakthrough win and reopening the floodgates for him to go out and win more majors, because I think he does have more coming. It's a guy that I feel like if he is on and he is kind of focused and he's playing his A game well, and he's having a lot less club into these greens than the rest of these guys are having, he could post a Stinson-esque number at the end of the week where he just is hitting it close, making a lot of makeable birdies, and just kind of rolling away from the rest of the field. So that is why I'm rocking with Rory this week. Ending on a little bit of a somber note, but just, rest in peace to your grandfather, Al Kaufman.
Thank you, yeah.
And I think, listen, it's been interesting for both of us to kind of lose a grandfather in these past few weeks or the past few months, and what that's like. I think in a lot of ways it's an amazing blessing that we were able to have them around for so long, but an amazing guy, as we've seen, lots of people chime in and comment in response to his passing. And so I know he's in a better place now, so can take some sort of solace in that.
Definitely so. And thank you for saying something. Yeah, he's the real Coach K. So I think he'll go down in history as one of the best Coach K's to ever do it. So many memories with my grandfather, and I'm gonna miss him a lot, but man, he was a one of a kind. And as I've gotten older, the more I realize I'm so much like him. Just whether it's patience level or just how our mannerisms are, as I kind of realize a lot of similarities between him and I, and definitely a legacy I'm going to be telling my kids about for a long time.
I love that. And this is appropriate as we're talking about fathers, sons, grandfathers, because my son is just beating down the door right now. Hey, buddy, here, you want to come help me? You want to help me close the episode? All right, here
close
we go.
Close the show, buddy.
We're fit. We're going to say goodbye to everybody. We're going to say thanks for watching and listening, everybody. And we're going to be back recapping the Open Championship this week with Journals Every Day. Can we say bye-bye, Walker? No? All right. We tried. Good work, buddy. We'll talk to you on Thursday after the Open Championship first round. See you then.